Hi YouTube, welcome to a new project coming to you from the YouTube channel All Things Hitman. This is a brand new concept. Most of you know me as Reaper1. I make Hitman videos on YouTube. We're just days away at the time of recording from the release, the global launch of Hitman 3, the third and final entry to conclude the World of Assassination trilogy. And obviously being a Hitman channel, I wanted to cover the lifespan of this final entry of the trilogy as I have the previous two entries, but I wanted to mix up the format. I wanted to start a podcast, and this is the pilot episode of this brand new project. I have with me a very special member of the Hitman community. He goes by the name of timothymark, aka to some as Duck.
Yep.
And so welcome, man. Thanks so much for joining me.
I'm really excited.
Yeah. I mean, and by the way, I just want to put it out there from the very beginning. This is not like my main project. This is a completely, despite it being on the All Things Hitman channel to begin with anyway, we'll see what happens later down the line depending on how it goes. But this is a joint project and something we've both come up with together, and we're very excited to get it off the ground.
Yeah, it was an interesting story actually when we came up with it, because remember you posted your idea for having a podcast about Hitman and the community. And then I coincidentally was in the server where you posted that, and I had a very similar idea personally, like separately from you entirely, and I was considering looking for someone else to co-host with me as well. So yeah, it came together, as you say. The stars aligned.
Yeah, the stars aligned.
Yeah,
yeah, it worked out well. I mean, just the fact that we came up with the idea at a similar point in time, and also the fact that obviously we're both Australian, so
yes,
that's a huge plus. Obviously working with someone that lives in wherever, somewhere in Europe or something, it's going to be a lot harder to meet up and confer and
same time zones make it so much easier.
From a production standpoint, it's very convenient. So we've kind of jotted down some notes. I mean, this is the very first time either of us have ever made a podcast.
This is the pilot of all podcasts for us and this podcast. So I think it might be a bit shaky at the start, but that's okay.
We'll see how we go. We should probably mention the working title of the podcast.
Yes.
Before we get too far into it.
Hitman Hideout.
Hitman Hideout. I think it's originally it was Hitfan Hideout. It was your idea.
Maybe a little too complicated, like a bit too wordy for the.
But we made it topical.
Yes.
Put it on subject, which is great, and alliteration always works.
Yeah, and we want I think the meaning of the word hideout in this context is obviously 47 often has hideouts, especially in the older games.
Yeah.
But we wanted it to be sort of reminiscent of, because in the hideouts it's where like you can sort of collect yourself, and all the guns and weapons and training things are all in there, and it feels like we want this podcast to be a place for to sort of collate and bring together different aspects of the community, which may not be necessarily aware of each other, or so there might be some very well-known Hitman speedrun over here and an artist over here, and they're not aware of each other yet. We want to bring them together.
Yeah, we want it to be kind of like a cornerstone or a meeting place where, exactly. We want this to be a Hitman community-centric podcast or platform where the community can come together and talk about Hitman, basically, and celebrate this fantastic franchise that we're all such huge fans of. And I suppose that's why both of us came up with the idea for a podcast, because despite there being, a very prominent presence online, in certain formats or mediums such as the Hitman forum or the subreddit or various individual
Discords
or Hitman channels or whatever, but it's almost like they're in
fragmented.
Fragmented. They're in their own silos, whereas there's nothing that's kind of bringing us together aside from IO Monthly.
Yes.
but that's more I think actually no, sorry, Froat's speedrunning community.
First speedrun community is great for very welcoming to new members. Shout out to them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
That's not to say the Hitman community is not completely absent of any, activity glue. Exactly.
Glue.
But there's not a lot of collaboration
Yeah.
between different members. So that I think that was like a big driving force in how this concept or the idea for the podcast came together in both our minds, because
Exactly, yeah.
you know,
like I'm like when I'm moderating the subreddit and Discord, I see lots of people, like amazing, like people posting art, people making replica silver ballers, all sorts of incredible stuff around, amazing speedruns and creative things from people like Urban. And I want everyone to be able to peek into different aspects of the community. Like a speedrunner may not necessarily look at the work of someone who makes like ambient audio of each level, for example, but they showcase different aspects and perhaps even do interviews with different community members.
Well, we don't have a concrete plan at this stage, do we? We don't have a concrete format. We're kind of just going with the flow.
We're going with it.
Yeah, we don't have a set mold. We're just going to experiment, see what works. I think definitely the plan is to obviously post-launch cover Hitman 3, especially with monthly updates. Definitely want to get both prominent figures within the Hitman community on, whether it be cast members or those with a large significant following, or even just anyone that's part of the community that has something interesting to say. We're also open to definitely open to the idea of having anyone on, really.
We're not limiting it to people with a big following or influence or employees necessarily. Like everyone's welcome. We're looking for a good story, a good chat.
Absolutely, yeah. And that's what it's all about, bringing the community together.
Exactly.
So